podcast. We have very exciting guest right here, one half of the legendary hip-hop duo Tag Team. We're talking to DC, the Brain Supreme. And DC, how are you today?
I am doing wonderful. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. This is awesome. So it's been a few years since the Scoop There It Is commercial came out, and I gotta say, it's still one of my all-time favorite GEICO ads. And that's how you're up against, you know, the caveman, the camel. They've done some iconic ads, but I love that Scoop There It Is. How did that commercial come about?
That's crazy, because me and Steve were talking about this yesterday, and I believe that the genesis of this commercial comes from, you got to go back to 2011. And 2011, I'm DJing in the clubs, and I get a call, and it's this reporter from the New York Times, and she's like, DC, I got to talk to you. And I'm like, I'm at work. The record's about to go off, right? Because she just kept calling. I had to go deal with it. I said, call me tomorrow at this number. So she called me. She's like, have you seen the Gawker article? And I was like, no. It's like, the whole world thinks Barack Obama has been in your video. And I'm like, what? And what happened is they took a snippet. They took a frame. There was another group on our label that we were label mates with called Deuce. And a guy named L.A. Snow, they took a just frame, and it looked like a young Barack Obama. And they took that and just ran with it. So for 2 weeks, we did press, all the press you can imagine, ABC, NBC, CBS, everything. And I was pissed off at the end because I had nothing to show for it. I had no money in my pocket. And I am the type of person that whenever things like that happen, traumatic events, things don't go your way, I vow that they'll never happen again. I do something about it. So that's what started my digital marketing career, let's say. And I got very masterful in the arts of SEO, search engine optimization, which is the ability to get traffic by ranking number one on Google. And 5 years ago, you would type in tag team and it was all wrestling. You type in tag team today, it's all tag team. So fast forward 2020, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody's freaking out. I get a call from my agent for acting. And her name's Lena. She was like, DC, you just booked a GEICO commercial. And I was like, yeah, why are you playing with my emotions during the pandemic? I haven't even auditioned for a GEICO commercial. And she was like, no, DC, tag team. And I was like, oh. And I go check the tag team phone, and there was the message from GEICO. We want to put you guys in a commercial. We appreciate it if you call us back as soon as possible. They didn't wait for me to call them back. They went to my IMDb, and because of search engine optimization, all my profiles and everything that has to do with the internet is immaculate. And they found me. Because SEO is the ability to be found before anybody else. So the fact that they called me and then called my agent, well, that was synergy, because I didn't even have to go find lawyers. I didn't have to go run it across people. That's what my agent does. And it is the biggest, most lucrative deal that I've ever made in my life. After that, well, hey, let's do a commercial. And it was supposed to be Soup There It Is. So I'm looking for Seinfeld episode of the Soup Nazi, so I get some ideas, because I'm an actor and I prepared. But then they called and they're like, no, it's going to be Scoop There It Is, ice cream. And I was like, yeah, because that takes me back to my childhood. And I wanted this commercial to have that essence of childhood, where you'd be that hyped when you would get ice cream, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about when you were a child, how you got surprised and they took you to get ice cream. You're like, let's go get some ice cream, right? There's nothing better, right? So that's the essence I wanted to bring to the commercial.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to prepare for this. And this technique that I used for this commercial happened because I had booked a National Pizza Hut commercial, because I switched up my auditioning technique for acting in commercials, because they used to take improv classes, and they're like, hey, just improv it when they ask you, can you do something else? But I would always just kind of freeze, because it's like 1,000 things come in your mind. So I said, next time I have an audition, I'm going to just pick 5 things for when I get the script, and then just practice. And then when the audition comes, if they say, hey, can't do this, do that, but then just freestyle.
Yeah.
And I can just go through the play, or I can pull an audible, and then I can, book the gig. And I booked the Pizza Hut national commercial.
Yeah.
I mean, it was going to be very lucrative for March Madness. And 2 weeks later, the pandemic, right?
Yep.
So I went into the GEICO commercial with five or six different things. And the night before, we were having our fitting, and we had a meeting with the producer and the director. And I'm like, look, I got a couple things I want to throw in. Is it cool? And they're like, whatever you want to do, DC. So I was like, well, I've tried to fabricate a spinning scoop, but couldn't get anybody to make it. So can't do that one. It's like, no. It'll be done tomorrow. I was like, whoa. And then I was like, I know kids love sprinkles. I want to do a bunch of sprinkle things. It's like, we got to have a lot of sprinkles now. It's like, DC, we'll have a truckload of sprinkles. And I just went on down the line. And we shot that next day, and we could have shot 5 GEICO commercials with all the stuff we had. And the energy was just incredible all day, all in the middle of a pandemic. This was like September. The commercial dropped on Christmas. And I'll never forget, dropped Christmas night, global YouTube campaign. So anytime you type in anything YouTube, we were there. I mean, it just took off. Almost kind of like Whoomp, there it is, right? So, I mean, that following Monday, it just blew up because it came on, it started coming on television. Then it was so popular, they spent millions on that commercial for a couple years. Because we had a contract for 2 years, I think, and they pretty much used it for like a year and a half. And then just the fact that I am who I am, I take an opportunity to try to turn it into 10, right? I'm thinking, how can I utilize this? Because we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Usually it reinvigorates your career. You get to do more shows. You get to do more everything. But we're in a pandemic. So I was like, well, get a publicist. And none of the publicists really wanted to work because it was a weird type of situation. And then they're in the pandemic. Everybody's at home. It's like, how can we do this? So I said, I'm going to be my own publicist. And I joined the Public Relations Society of America because I'm going to be my own publicist. I join organizations when I want to learn something. And I think it's Super Bowl week. And it's on a Tuesday. I raised my hand in this Zoom meeting because it's with a big time PR professional. And I say, my press release is relevant. And they're like, what's it for? It's like, well, we're kind of featured in a national GEICO commercial called Scoop. There it is. I'm looking at the chat and it's like, wait a minute, what's he doing here? That's my mom's favorite commercial. That's my dad's favorite commercial. My baby loves that commercial. My dog loves that commercial. Right. And just blew up the entire chat. But this is what I do. Now the whole thing is about me. The CEO of this company was like, of course that press release is going to work because the whole last year has been COVID. The whole last year has been political. And here you guys come spinning scoops and throwing sprinkles and smiling and having a good time. You're going to go here for all the publicists, here for all the TV talk shows, here for all the journalists, here for all the blog posts, here for all the podcasts. And she gave me the entire breadth of her 30-year professional career in 10 minutes. And it's changed my life forever. And it's the reason that you and I are talking right now. So that might have been a long-winded answer to a question, but that is relevant because in life there are narratives. And those narratives can get you to where you want to be and get you what you want in life. And that's just scratching the surface of everything I've been able to and continue to squeeze out of that commercial and that opportunity. When you're young, you're just trying to be rock stars. When you get older and you get a chance to do that, you get to have something that is so relevant again, you don't take any chances of constantly just working to stay relevant. And that's why I learned SEO. So I can always have the ability to be found, always have the ability to put what I want out there so people see it. And if they see it, I'm in front of the people who can pay me. And that is why we've made a 30-year career off of one song.
That's incredible. And so many good lessons there, especially just taking control of your own career. You were bummed because someone else was getting publicity that you should have been getting, and you took control. You didn't wait around for someone else. You didn't wait for permission. It's almost like how you made the song.
Always known that nobody's ever going to give you anything, right? Life isn't fair and easy like that. That's baked in the cake. And I try to tell people that nobody will ever give you nothing, so you better figure it out. And even with Whoomp, it was a period of time in the early 2000s where I was like, is this the year it's going to die? Is this the year it's going to die? Is this the year it's going to die? And it never did, because it was always in a commercial, it was always here, it was always there. But then 2003, I'm sitting in a movie theater looking at Will Ferrell dance on the table to Elf. And I didn't even know the deal was made. And I was pissed. I had to push it at the back of my mind, because that's the glass half full, half empty. What's the glass half full? And the glass half full is, you got your record in a Christmas movie that is going to be a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to last forever. Therefore, your record is going to last forever. Therefore, you got a forever hit record. Therefore, it is up to me to make my money. And once you realize that you can achieve anything you want, then it's about a couple of things. It's about educating yourself, right? And once you educate yourself and figure out how to do things, then we get to see what you're made of. And that's about the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to put in the work, and I love to educate myself, because there's a thing called learning how to learn.
Mm-hmm.
As technology improves, as life goes on, you lose the ability, or I'm not going to say you lose the ability to learn, but learning evolves.
Yeah.
And there's not just one way to learn. We're taught, go to school, get your degree, and then you'll be straight. And that's, as they say in London, bollocks, because you got to always stay ahead when it comes to learning, because life will pass you by.
Yeah.
Right?
How did you learn SEO? What
I
was your
learned
source?
SEO. I learned it was probably the most brutal thing I've ever had to learn. And I started off, I was working in the club. So it's like, if I'm working in the club, I am not just, I've been a DJ for 30 years, right? So my whole history is club based. That is a competitive field. So how am I going to have the advantage? Well, you better make yourself invaluable. So I'm not just your DJ. I'm your light guy. I'm your sound guy. I do all your radio commercials. I do all your television commercials. I do your fashion photography. I do this. I do that. I do everything that you need in that setting for marketing. So you'll have to hire 10 people to replace me, right? So that's why I tell people, if you're in a dead end job, or if you're in a job period, learn everybody else's job. Because if the boss comes in and says, where's such and such? Man, I really need this. I'll be like, I got it. And a lot of people are going to be, I ain't about to do all that extra work. But not me. I'm learning how to do everything. So even at its worst, if you get fired or you get laid off, or if the company goes out of business, you've just made your ascension to the next level that much easier, because you've acquired the skills because you were proactive in a bad situation. You have to always find the positivity in the negative. And I liken it to, I am masterful and I live well in the bizarro world. And, most people don't know what, I'm not going to say most people, but I know you guys know what the bizarro world is. Or if you're younger, the upside down, right?
There you go.
If you can live in the upside down and thrive, that's because you figured out and you've been able to twist your brain to think that way, but still stay positive. So you find the positive in the negative. I just started with SEO because I was like, well, let me get in the corridor, right? So since I'm here at the club, let me redo the website because that's hurting us, right? And then coming off the Barack Obama thing, I was just like, I got to figure this out. And that was at the beginning of social media, not, like Instagram. I'll put it that way. Instagram, YouTube had been around for a little bit, Twitter had been around, but that's when it just really started accelerating. I spent a lot of money. I wasted a lot of money. I'm not going to say wasted, but because you don't know. And if you don't know, you're trying to figure it out. And if you could take something positive out of it, it really wasn't a waste of money. These are just the stepping stones of everything, because you're always going to suck at first. If you don't get that out your mind, if you don't embrace that, then everything's hard to you. But I know that when I start something, I'm going to suck at it at first, but eventually I master it, right? And my father used to call me jack of all trades, master of none. And it's like, okay, but as time goes on, if you keep hustling, play offense, and keep learning, you become masterful at all those trades, and they come back to serve you in such a way. And it just in situations that you could never imagine, right? So the search engine optimization part of it, I just started reaching out to people. I bought courses, but I was able to be funded by the club because I was doing it for the club. So built the website, tried to optimize it, and none of it worked because it was like I didn't know what I was doing. And then I just started reaching out to mentors because I was getting frustrated. And this is what I do. I just ask, can you please help me? As long as you put please in front of it, people know you don't have no ulterior motive. They're not trying to hustle them. You're not trying to get something for free. I was like, I need help. Please help me. My main man, Marco, there's a couple people that helped me in this. And what I've learned over the years is that things are hard because you don't know the language. We had a bad record deal. So it was like in 2000, I was like, I vow that I will never let nobody take my money like that again. So I said, I'm about to learn finance. And, I tried stocks and I tried, bonds, and I learned, tried to learn and just jumped into it, and it just was all over the place. But then I settled on commodities and Forex. And I said, you know what? Let me become a commodities broker. And I took the Series 3, became a licensed commodities broker. And it wasn't for me because I thought being a broker, when you're young and you say hear broker, you're like, okay, they make a lot of money. That's all you hear. You don't hear the other part, right? But once I realized what it was, I was like, I'd have to give up music to do that. And I wasn't going to do that. But year 2000, if I listened to CNBC, I didn't understand what they were saying. Year 2002, I knew everything that they were saying. And it's about the vocabulary. So when you start something new, you got to get a dictionary or a glossary of terms for that thing that you're trying to do so you can learn the vocabulary. We were in the middle of a 20-year legal battle. And I could have became an old bitter rapper because we had signed a messed up record deal, but I took responsibility for what I did as a man. And I said, well, I know I'm going to get my day in court. I might as well become a paralegal. So basically I became a paralegal, right? And I just started studying. I started saying, learning what discovery is, learning what emotion is, learning how to go find case law so I can find my situation in somebody else's circumstance, right? And then hopefully, just gather everything together and just stay, connected to it. And at the end, we prevailed at a cost, you know what I mean? Because in any war, you lose an arm, a leg, come back with an eye patch, but we prevailed, man. And, it's always going to be that scenario, Phoenix rising from the ashes in everything you do, because when you're young, you just don't know. But my goal now is, like I said, 2011, I started SEO. It's 2023, and I'm masterful at it. I'm in masterminds all over the place. I know how to do things. I write Wikipedia pages. I know how to code. I know how to do so many things that have to do with the realm of digital marketing. I'm masterful at AI. I'm masterful at all this stuff, right? And now I use all this to leverage my goals and dreams. But it's difficult because it's a lot of moving parts and I'm only one person. So any one day I'm doing 15 different things at one time. But for me, I have to do it that way because in my experience, me trying to hire people to do what I need them to do doesn't work because people overpromise and underdeliver. Plus, my system is custom to me, right? So what I have to do is I have to learn it. Then I can train people. So I got a team of people, individuals who help me do things, and I just keep learning and learning and learning. But at least I know it. Then once you know it, now you get to be creative. You got to be a prep cook before you can be a chef, right?
Yeah.
So you got to know what you're cutting up, how you got to cut it up. Do you got to cut it up fine? Do you got to cut it up coarse? Do you got to do this? Do you got to do that? And then once all those ingredients are done, now you truly get to be creative because now you get to cook.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I do. And it has made my life full. It does come at a cost sometimes with isolation and pressure. Not going to say stress, I'm going to say pressure. Because everything is challenging, right? But ain't nothing but work. People ask me, how do you even deal with that? How do you deal with the fear? How do you deal with this? How do you deal with that? I was like, well, you could do two things at once. You could be scared and still keep it moving. You could be pressured and still keep it moving. As long as you're moving, as long as you keep planting seeds, and this analogy I use, you don't plant a seed, sit there Indian style, and say, okay, seed, I need you to grow. Okay, seed, grow. Man, this seed ain't growing. I quit. How many people we know like that? Where they just start something and quit. Even I've been like that in my life, right? Mm-hmm. What they don't realize is that there is no quid pro quo. I don't do things to get a result. I just plant seeds because my preparation dictates me even planting the seed.
Yeah.
So if I even plant a seed, I know I'm prepared for it to blow up, but I don't know when it's going to blow up. So therefore, I plant that seed and keep it moving. And my life is littered with seeds that I planted, and they've come back to hit me in the head and bless me. 30 years ago, I planted a seed called Whoomp, there it is, and now it is a sequoia. See what I'm saying? So you never know how things are going to come back. And that's why the pandemic was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me, because the other side is the other side. We know that side. But the side that I love is the side that everybody had to stop at the same time. Now we're all in the Serengeti together. What are you going to be, predator or prey, right? And it made me realize that there are no missed opportunities. There are no mistakes. Mm-hmm. You can correct all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not going to go back and try to play for the Denver Broncos being my age, but I'm saying that you can correct, you're going to correct. And here's an example of that. Here's an example of how that works. 1994, I'm sitting in the office with my manager, whose friend was the president of New Line Cinema, which was a brand new company at the time. They were a fan, and they were like, hey, man, we might want to cast you in this movie. You know, the leads are, not Denzel, but Wesley Snipes and LL Cool J. I said, all right, talk to my manager. And it's like, you know, it's a vampire movie called Blade.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, holler at my manager, because I'm Whoomp, there it is. I'm in my prime. I'm in my ego. I'm in my hubris. And I beat myself up for years because I was there. I was there. Same year, I'm in the bowels of Disney because we got booked to do a children's record, a take on Whoomp, there it is, with Mickey Mouse and the Disney characters called Whoomp, there it went. And I'm with the husband and wife team of Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, teaching them how to rap. And they're teaching me about animation and voiceover and all these things. I'm like, I'm interested in that. But I never did nothing. And I beat myself up for years because I was there. And my Aunt Judy says, baby, sometimes in life, we're just not ready. I understand that fully. And now I'm a masterful voice artist with 5 agents. I'm an actor, 3 movies under my belt, 5 TV shows. I've only been acting since 2017.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that dream of me standing on the stage, winning an Oscar, winning an award for acting is still alive because I am now an actor. I am now a voice artist. I am now everything I've always wanted to be. But that takes a lifetime. You have to look at it in a way where you just don't waste time, because 30 years passes in a second. 20 years passes quick. 5 years passes quick.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have those milestones, you know, when you hit 21, when you hit 25, when you hit 30, every age has a different emotion, but every age lets you know the clock is ticking, but you don't realize it till, you know, there are more days behind you than there are ahead of you. So I say all this to let people know that there is nothing on this earth that you can't do. But you got to put your mind to it. And, you know, my biggest advice is I join organizations like the publicist story, right? I never if I don't join that organization, a lot of stuff don't happen, right? But you leverage the things that you've done to get good in new arenas, right? Because that gets you in the door. And then when you get in the door and learn, go to these conventions and show up and meet people and gather relationships and then become part of masterminds where you're in a group of 50 people who make millions of dollars a year, and you can learn from their experiences. But then you realize that all of them websites aren't that great and they're leaving money on the table. Now you become invaluable to millionaires. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and this is what I love. I love the fact that we really ain't even talked about Whoomp. There it is. This is about life.
Yeah.
Right. But Whoomp, there it is don't happen if I'm not this way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It don't happen if I don't hustle. It happens if I don't give, if I'm just continuously grinding and having to deal with life and all the things that life throws at you, right? And that's why what you do have to do is you have to kill your pride and sequester your ego, because pride kills everything.
Absolutely.
And once you do that, now your mind's truly open to every possibility. Now you flourish with education. Now you get creative. Now you come up with different combinations that nobody even thought out, but it's custom to me. And only I can do it. Or either I do it and everybody learns from me, and now it's a whole nother way of doing something. So that's what like all these courses are that I look at. I get tutors, right? I got tutors for video. If I need to learn something quick, I'll get a tutor. I'll find somebody who can teach me one-on-one. And it's not really a money thing. It's just about creativity and how you do you pan for gold? What's your method of panning for gold? And I have so many that I'm always learning. And then I'm learning from the people. I'm learning from everything that's around me, because they say what? Don't hang around negative people. It's like, well, what if the people you love most are the most negative? Better figure it out. So therefore, you got to always try to find the positive in the negative, right? You always got to take people's excuses and their problems or their criticisms. See, I love to deal with those, because if somebody criticizes me, I'm saying, okay, I'm not getting offended. Inside, I am a little. But I see it as an opportunity to say to myself, what if they were right? How would you deal with it? That takes you out of that negative space just like that. And what you just done is created a tool. And now I'm truly ambidextrous, because I can take somebody's excuses, somebody's problem, and come up with 10 solutions. So when that problem hits me through life, I'm ready for it.
You bring up some good stuff here, because a couple things. Like, one, you're talking about like these moments that have happened in your life. To me, they seem like they're signs to tell you that you're on the right path. Even though in that moment, like, okay, this deal didn't happen. I'm watching this movie, and it's a reminder of this really crappy deal that I had back in the day, and it's now coming right here in front of me. And this could be a moment where it's like you retreat, but instead it's like, hey, the universe or God or whatever your belief is really showing you like you are on the right path. Keep going where you're going. And then also, you bring up this idea of like that all these people around you in your life is really this input that you have no control over. You have no control over if somebody says something crazy to you or someone cuts you off on the freeway, but you do have control over your output, how you respond to those moments.
Yes.
One of the things that just has me curious, like, where does this mentality come from? Like, from your parents, or is this from a mentor that you had? Like, where does all of this type of mentality originate?
It's ironic you say that, because that is the thesis of my first book that I'm writing right now, or first book I'm thinking, because I ain't wrote nothing. I mean, I put the outline together. I'm trying to just get it together because I have too much to talk about, right?
Yeah.
All my mentors are like, you need to write the book about how you got this way, your energy, because that's what people want to know about. Because when they hear you talk, they feel all this. It's not that I'm just talking. It's like you understand what I'm giving you. I'm giving you things you might have heard 20 times said in a practical way that's different, because there's 10 ways to do things, right? There's 1,000 ways to ask the same question, but it's all relevant. So for me, it started with my parents because they made me work. So as a grown man, I have never not known work. So if I've never not known work, that's the easy part. I know I'm going to hustle and I'm going to work. I think it goes back to, I think I was 9 years old and there was a blizzard in Denver, Colorado. We were one of the only families that had a snowblower. And me and my brother have to do our yard, and we're just kids playing in snow. But then Mr. Grant is struggling next door, so I help him. And then we just end up doing the whole block just because we're kids playing in snow. And coming back from school, because we used to walk to school, people pull me to the side and be like, hey, boy, come here. Here's $20. Appreciate you doing my walkway. And I'm like, $20? Man, my parents only give me $5 for allowance, right? So it was like that day a hustler was born. Money don't run me, but I love the ability to make money, right? And I realized that if you just work your ass off, you can get money.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's rake some leaves when the fall comes. Let's mow the lawn when the summer comes. Let's wash cars when the summer comes. I've always been a hustler. Well, what job can you get as a kid? Get a paper route. Got a paper route, right? Work at an ice cream shop. Oh, okay. Work at the university doing an easy job, just rolling around projectors to classes, getting paid $8 an hour. What? I've never not known work. Working at Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado for the Broncos games at 16, selling Pepsi. And coming home, my parents did not want to let me do that. And I said, please let me do this. This is an opportunity. They're going to take advantage of you. Okay. And they were just waiting to be like, told you. But I came home with $350 worth of quarters and put it on the table. You see what I'm saying, man? I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, I am a hustler. And that's kind of how me and Steve met in high school. And he had a band, and I wanted to be in that band. And I worked the truancy office down the hall from the choir room. And I heard the music. I wanted to be in the choir. And then I went to my first high school dance at this new high school I went to, Manual High School, 84. And I saw 2 turntables, a mixer, and a microphone. And this is like 1982. And I was like, I'm doing that. And I've made a career off of singing, DJing, and music my whole life. And that just lets you know I've just been a hustler. I sell mixtapes. I sell everything. I don't know any other way. I don't know any other way to go hard. Most people now in their 50s are done. And I feel like I'm just beginning. Trust me, all of this is easier said than done because, you're going to go through some mental stuff because it's hard. It gets frustrating. But you just got to remember to keep playing offense. If Jordan shoots, if Jordan misses 20 shots, he's going to shoot 60 more. And he's going to keep shooting till he makes it. And then he's going to win 6 championships. You see what I'm saying? You got to keep moving. You got to keep getting better because repetition gets you there. And that's how, and then all these little caveats that I learned through the things that I do, like what has really liberated me is acting. Because acting, your job as an actor is to get rejected.
Yeah, you got to have some really thick skin for that.
Because you have to audition. The audition process, you are going to get rejected over and over and over. It's like a girl rejecting you over and over and over and over again. And if you can't take that rejection, you're not going to be able to act. So I'm like, okay, if it takes me 100 auditions to get to it, give me 10 auditions a day because I don't mind getting rejected to get to the one. See, that you have to develop these mindsets and these practical solutions to get over your fears of what everybody else is going through. And I do it in a way that it kind of just blows people away because they can't figure out how am I like this. But it's all practicality, right? What is practical? Yeah. What is simple? The most simplest thing is deal with it and keep it moving. And that's what I do. It's not easy though. Whew.